there are some basic principles that help us understand what charts mean. So the beauty of this is once you understand the basic of a chart and the universal principles that actually rule charts, you're able to pretty much read any chart type, even if you don't know it, because the principles that I'm going to be sharing with you are universal and they're common to pretty much every chart. And they are called the visual variables. The visual variables are basically the way in which we encode data into graphical elements. So we have 7 types of visual variables. Some authors may have more, some less, but these are the most important ones and the ones that we find the most commonly. So first we have position, and this simply says that where something is on a chart, that has a certain meaning. If something is higher up on a chart or lower down, it has a meaning, and generally it means that maybe the value is up or maybe the value is down. Then we have direction. So think of an arrow going one way or another, or a line going up or a line going down. We're again encoding information. If something goes up, we're assuming that it's increasing in value or in magnitude. And if something is going down, we're assuming that it's decreasing in value or magnitude. So whenever you see a chart, you grasp those concepts, understand how that's playing, and you're able to find the meaning behind the chart. The same thing happens with size. So if an element is bigger, we're assuming that it's increasing or it has a bigger magnitude. That's something that's perhaps smaller. And then we have other variables like shape that helps us categorizing. So if you have different categories or different variables in different shapes, we assume that they're in different groups. Hue can also help with this. So if you go back to the electoral map, knowing that some states are red or some states are blue, it's a way of encoding which party won. With saturation as well. So going from lighter shades to darker shades can convey magnitude, and texture can also be another way of conveying different groups. Now, that's a mouthful, but how does that actually look in practice? Well, I'm just going to move this here. This is the basic scatter plot. Maybe you're familiar with it, maybe you're not, but basically scatter plots are a matrix that correlates to at least 2 variables, so 2 axes. In this case, we have life expectancy, so how long are people expected to live per country? The number is a year. And then we have GDP in $1 million, so how much money each country has. And the way scatter plots work is that you have a dot per each of the elements in a series, and the position of the dot in the matrix depends on the relationship between the 2 variables. So in this case, I can say that a bubble that is higher up has more money, so it's a richer country, and a bubble that is further to the right lives longer, so they have higher life expectancy. So this is showing the encoding of the use of position as an encoding mechanism. Then we add size. So in this case, we are sizing the bubbles by the population of each of the countries. And again, we're adding yet another layer of information. So here we're able to see how perhaps some of the most populated countries are not the richer and actually don't have the highest life expectancy, which is an interesting insight, opposite, for instance, to the ones in this tiny group. We can add another variable, which in this case is color, to categorize them. And in this case, we're categorizing by the income region. So if I turn these off, we're able to see how there's a stark difference between the low income regions and how they are lower in my chart, meaning that they are poorer countries with a lower life expectancy, contrary to richer countries that have a higher life expectancy. So again, the story is starting to emerge, right? We're able to understand things better by applying all of the variables. And one less variable can be, in this case, shape, which I'd use to highlight one specific country, in this case, the United States, to just separate it and bring the case across of the use of shape as a visual variable. Now, we can use these variables to create millions of charts. You might be quite familiar with some of the most basic ones, like this bar chart or a pie chart or a line chart, and this is perfectly fine. It can be super helpful to visualize data in this way, but there is a wide range of possibility beyond traditional charts. We at Flourish offer many templates to help you explore this type of charts, and the whole point here is that it's important for you to not only know the basics, but also feel comfortable to explore all the possibilities out there to create richer visual stories. But the question is, how do you make the right decision? How do you choose the right chart for your data? And there are 3 steps to go about this. The first one is to choose one insight to show. Second is to understand what is that insight showing, like what's the actual relationship, and then to remember that form follows function. So when we talk about choosing one insight to show, it is to start small, basically. Whenever you have your data set, ask questions, interview it, and then say, settle for specific bits of information that you want to showcase in a chart and give a headline to that particular chart. It's a really cool way to start, and it's the easiest way to make sure that you're selecting the right chart for your data, just by knowing that you're trying to show one specific thing. Then what is it showing refers to the relationship of the data. Is it change over time? Is it flow? Is it a correlation? Is it deviation, or is it hierarchy? And understanding what your insight is and what's trying to show is also going to be the key to unlocking the right chart. And last one, form follows function. It's quite simple. Don't choose a chart type just because it looks pretty. Go for the one that shows the insight and the relationship of the data the best. And the good thing is that there are many resources on how to do this and what these 3 steps mean. And one great one is the Visual Vocabulary by the FT, which is this freely available in multiple languages on the web, by the way. It's this matrix where you have one column for the type of variable that you're trying to showcase: deviation, correlation, distribution, change over time, spatial, flow, etc. And then the different options for visualizing that using charts. And we at Flourish also have quite a similar resource. It's our most recent blog, which is all about choosing the right chart for your data and how that correlates to the templates that we offer at Flourish. So you're able to explore this blog and not only discover potentially new templates that you didn't know we offered, but also to refresh your knowledge and to confirm whether the specific chart that you were trying to use actually fits the data that you're trying to show. Now, before I start with Flourish, I just want to double check whether there's anything that's popping up in the chat. So I'm going to mute myself for nothing. Okay, Annie's telling me that everything's good. Brill. So I guess we're going to keep going. I have no idea what time is it. Oh, brill. I have lots of time. It's all going perfect, guys. Amazing. So we're going to get started with Flourish, and this is going to be the most practical part of the session. Again, the slides are going to be shared with you, so bear with. You're free to follow along. You're free to experiment while I'm explaining things, but do keep an eye out for some of the concepts and some of the tips and tricks I'm going to be sharing with you today. So for those of you who are not familiar with Flourish, Flourish is the world's leading data storytelling platform. Since we launched, we have over 1.5, I'm just going to wait for that summer ticker. There we go. 1.5 million users, making over 15 million visualizations that have clocked up over 32 billion views. We are used by organizations all over the world, from agencies to NGOs to newsrooms in the most remote areas on Earth. Let's see if I can move to the next slide. There we go. We are a no-code to low-code tool, meaning that you don't need to have any coding experience to get started using Flourish. And that means that we lower the entry barrier for anybody who's keen on starting with data visualization. Then we offer interactive, fully responsive charts that are suitable for the web, but also for print. We offer different options for you to export your charts in static way as well, if you desire. And thirdly is that we make it super easy to publish to the web. So anything that you create with Flourish, you can share with more people and tell your story to the rest of the world. And our mission is to democratize design and data storytelling. Now, Flourish in the newsroom, what we're trying to do here, and specifically in this session, is bring the templates that are the most relevant to you and to showcase them in this session. So we go to events, we talk to many people, and we obviously have like customers that are in the newsroom space or like in the media space. And after having many conversations, we've discovered that the 3 most used templates by journalists are the following 3, which are our line bar pie template, our mapping options, specifically the projection map, but I'll go into more detail in a second, and our interactive content templates. So our line bar pie template is basically the most important template in a way, because it conveys or it showcases the most basic charts, which are line chart, bar chart, and pie chart, which most of you will be familiar with. They're really good for showcasing magnitudes, change over time, part to whole, and more. This offers fully interactive charts, tooltips and pop-ups, filtering options, small multiple options or grid of charts, and rich animations, as you can see in this GIF. Then with our maps templates, which we have several of, you are able to bring your geographic data to life. For instance, for locator maps, or if you're ever wanting to visualize data that's specifically relevant to a particular region, to a particular country, we're able to create maps with color regions, maps with proportionally sized symbols. They can be points, arrows, or spikes, arc maps to showcase flow or relationship between different spaces, animated maps with time sliders, heat maps, and we also make it super easy for you to upload your own custom regions should you want to create a map that we don't offer, say, out of the box. And last but not least, we offer many templates for interactive content, which means that you are able to build dynamic blocks of content for your story and for your websites with ease. We offer things like interactive cards, such as the one you can see in this GIF. This was made actually by one of our customers, Continentalists, showcasing different types of coffee from different countries. You also have image sliders, number tickers, countdowns, and interactive timelines. So many charts for you to boost up your reporting and improve your storytelling techniques. Now it's the moment of truth. We're going to make some charts. Before I go on that, I'm just going to check with Annie in case there are any questions that I can tackle right now. Okay, seems that's all good. And I'm going to move over to my Flourish account. Can everybody see this? Just double checking. Okay, perfect. Amazing. So this is what your Flourish page would look like whenever you have your projects. So actually, let me go to Flourish Studio. So this is what Flourish looks like in case you've never seen the app before. This is our website where we have lots of resources and a lot of information for you to get started with the tool and to learn more about what we do. But once you hit sign in, you're going to be redirected to your projects page, which is where all your charts and your projects live. And in this case, I'm just going to hit new visualization. And this is what we call the template chooser. So the template chooser, it's where all of our templates and starting points live. So whenever you want to create a new chart, and this is where the whole logic about which chart type to use comes into play. So you would come to this page and then you can scroll down and explore all the different charting options that we have. Some of our content-based, like our photo slider, of course, our database, like the Parliament chart for elections, for instance, sports template, text annotator, and so on and so forth. Our mapping solutions here, scatter plot. And yeah, these are some of the templates that we offer. But once you know what you're trying to show, you would go here, you would click on a chart, and you would get started charting. So for this particular demo, we're going to take a look at the data first. I'm going to be working with CO2 emissions per region per year. And this is data from our World in Data. And we have records since the 1750 up until 2021, if I'm not mistaken. And you can see here that this is how our data is formatted: one column for continent, one column for year, and one column for my records. So I'm just going to grab all of my data, copy that, and I mean, obviously, I already know what I'm trying to show, but I'm just going to walk you through the rationale. I basically have years, I have entities, so regions, and I have a value. And I want to visualize the evolution of emissions per region per year. And I already know by lots of reading, studying, and experience that a line chart is a really cool way of doing this. So let's create or select the line chart starting point. And as per all of our Flourish templates, our starting points are pre-populated with data that are all pre-populated with data that can make it easier for you to understand how you need to format your data for each particular starting point. So what I need to do now is I need to clear my sheet and bring my data. And actually, I need to bring this data. Sorry, this is the data set that I actually need to bring in, not the other one. Apologies for that. Oop. Yeah, there we go. I need to copy that, and then I paste that to my Flourish account. I'm sorry, I'm having like a moment of lapses where I'm forgetting exactly what I wanted to showcase. I think this is not going to work. Yes, okay, perfect. I messed up here with the demo, but this is a really good opportunity to actually showcase what was my mistake and what I tried to do wrong. So each Flourish template is going to have a different requirement in terms of how you need to paste in your data and which format it needs to be in. So this is where this column right here called our column bindings comes into place. So our column bindings are basically the way in which your data communicates with Flourish. And here's where you need to tell it which column is doing what part of the job in your chart. So one column is going to be your labels, one column can be your values, one column can be a filter, so on and so forth. And again, I'm just explaining the rationale because I completely had a lapses and I forgot how to do charts. So we're going to sort it together. This is not going to work because this is not the format that my data needs to be in. Flourish is clearly telling me that I need to have one specific column for my labels or my data over time, then one for my values. And if I wanted to do a split grid or small multiples, I needed a separate one for that. And we can see how this is not going to do the job at all and how this chart actually, it's not helpful at all. It's plotting something entirely different to what I want to showcase. But that's no problem. I just need to clear my sheet, go back to my data and select the right data set, which was the one that I envisioned all along. So I just copy all the data, paste it here. There we go. So now we do have something resembling what I'm trying to build. And my labels is going to be, oh no, I think I know what I messed up. Oh, no. It's all good. Yes, years, and then my value is going to be C. And is this going to be the right chart type? Grid of charts. You can see how this is what we go through whenever we are actually charting. So this is quite a normal process to go through. Like sometimes, even if you know the tool inside out, you forget how to do things and you need to troubleshoot on the spot. But we got there in the end. This is roughly what I wanted to build. And I'm going to explain what I did in just a second. So basically, what I did over here was I grabbed all my data and I bound every single one of the columns to one of the functionalities within the tool. So my labels / data over time is my B column because it's the years. Then I had my values in column C, which is my annual emissions per capita per continent. And then I created a grid of charts, which is going to split or create a mini chart for each of the regions of the world that I have in my data set. And then here on the charting options, I go to grid of charts and I'm able to select multiple options as to how I want this to be rendered. But in this case, I'm just going to select 3 columns to showcase 3 rows, or rather 3 facets per row. And here we can see that I have one small multiple for Africa, one for Asia, one for Europe, North America, Oceania, and South America. Now, within this view, there are several things that I can do. I can even go to my chart type and I can change this to become an area chart on stack, and it's going to fill that area between the line and the bottom of my chart. It's the same chart type as a line chart, but it just has like a little bit of that visual element. I'm able to do things like, for instance, edit my axis. So my axis in this case is the years, and I can see how these years are not necessarily correct because I know that my data starts in 1750. So I'm able to do things like adding a minimum and a maximum axis. There we go. I can even go all the way and fix my ticks and labels. Currently they're in an angle and I don't quite like that. So I can just make them to 0 so they look like this. I can even go here to custom and do one nifty little trick, which is to show just the first and the last value on my data. Oops. They need to be in capitals. And that should give me just the first and the last value in my data. And this already looks much cleaner than before. Then I can go to labels and turn my labels off because this is quite repetitive if I see it everywhere. And again, you're just able to edit your chart and customize it as much as you want. And you're able to do many things like, for instance, adding annotations. If I wanted to, I can add one on the x-axis, for instance, to say start of the 20th century. And I can make that to be in the year. There we go. For instance, if you wanted to highlight a specific area or a specific point in your chart, if that was useful, you can also highlight like other events or something in particular that you wanted to showcase. And what else can I show you over here? You are also able to color. In this case, I would have to color by, oh, I'm not able to do this with this version of the chart. I can show it to you with a different one. You're able to add your header as well. So this would be CO2 emissions per continent, and a subtitle and a source footer. In this case, this is our world in data, just to give it that little bit of a flavor. And obviously, super important to always mention your sources whenever you're making or building charts. And one last thing that can be quite useful to you to know is that if you have a Flourish account, you would, well, rather, if you're in a Flourish paid plan, you are able to provide us with your branding guidelines, and that we're able to set a theme for you that would make all your charts look on brand. So I have my nifty little theme right here, and you can see how I have a logo, I have a different color, and I have a different font. And this is just a made up newspaper that I created with this name, the New Gazette. And it's just with one click that you're able to then see how your charts can all look really nice and on style and on brand every time you create a new chart with a paid Flourish plan. So I'm thinking of what else can I show you here, but I mean, you're able to see here the interactive pop-ups, how each point in the chart has the name of the variable, or in this type of, or in this case, what's showing, and the year and the actual value. Then each of the grid of charts has its own title. You're able to customize this as well, like the font sizes, titles, and everything. And I'm going to pause for a second in case there are any questions, because I think I see one in the Q&A, or anything. So. Okay, I hear there's a question about map files. I may take it in a second. Is there anything else? Okay, questions around filters. Then it might be an interesting. What's the question about around filters? Sorry, like Annie and I are in the same room, so we're chatting and we're just going over this like very organically, as you can see. So I'm gonna go over some of the questions live. Yeah, let's hear it. Is that possible? Mm-hmm. So multiple filters is going to depend on the template and we're trying to do. We have different filtering options. This data might not be the right one to show any of those. I may have an example further down in the deck, so I may cover that. But short answer is yes. Long answer would be it really depends on the template. But I'm sure we can facilitate some help decks as well in case anybody has like any specific questions. And as for file maps, I will cover that in a second. But now it's a good point or a good moment to just jump back into my deck. And so with that very interesting demo, it's time to go over the toolkit or the resources that we've collected for this particular session to make it as useful to you as possible. So the first thing in this toolkit is a duplicable visualization, showcasing the same data that I utilized for the demo, so the CO2 emissions per continent and per country data. As soon as you get the slides, you're going to be able to duplicate this, and duplicating a visualization in Flourish means that you're able to have a exact copy of the one that I'm showcasing here on your personal account. You can edit it, you can delete as many bits of it as you want, you can really do whatever you want with it, and it's yours, it's on your end. It doesn't affect the original in any way, shape, or form. So it's a really good opportunity for you to experiment. Now, in terms of filtering, for instance, this interactive visualization is what we call a stream graph, which is very similar to a line chart in that it showcases change over time, more similar to a unstacked area chart. The difference is that it aligns to the middle of the canvas rather than the bottom. So it doesn't have like a flat axis. And one filtering option that we have at Flourish, actually, it's through the legend. So you're able to, for instance, click or rather unclick on multiple elements of your chart and make them disappear if you wanted to highlight a specific one or make this editable or interactive for your audience. So I guess this could be an interesting option to explore filters within Flourish. Another example here that we have is a very classic line chart. I'm showcasing the different emissions over time per region. And this is a nifty little trick in which you can truncate your x-axis to zoom in into a specific area of your chart. So if I do that again, here we can see the full extent of our data and how it evolved over time. And here we're simply focusing on, I believe it's 1920 until 2021 to get like a 100-year record. And again, as usual, every data point in the chart is interactive, and we're still able to keep the functionality of, removing or showing some of the series as we go. Then, as you're already familiar with this, we're able to build a grid of charts, so small multiples showcasing each region separately. And with coloring options, we're also able to do things like graying out different areas of the chart in favor of a specific one. Here we're highlighting that North America produces the most CO2 or has historically, and we can achieve that by different means, but color is one of them. And this is a good example. Onto maps. So I'm going to ask Annie to read me the question around the files in a second, but this is just an example, again, of filtering. So it may not look like a filter, but rather like a control. But this time slider is actually taking every single year and displaying it at once. So like 1 year per round, like per second or something. I think I set it up to be like this to visualize the evolution of CO2 emissions per capita per year per country. So we're able to see how it has increased over time. And at the same time, this is fully interactive, and I'm able to zoom in if I can. Yes, I'm able to zoom in into the chart if I wanted to focus on a specific area. And as per usual, each of these bubbles is fully interactive as well, giving me the possibility of exploring the number of or the quantity of carbon dioxide produced per country. And the last slide in this particular story is a very simple number ticker or a counter. In this case, is simply stating the total number of CO2 tons produced in the world in 2021. And again, another example of Flourish templates in this case is interactive content in that you can use to bring some numbers alive. It doesn't really have to be a chart at all. It can be something as simple as this. If you want to give your article like a different angle, or simply make it a little bit more fun or interesting than just a dry, so to speak, figure. Yeah, so about that mapping question, I'm gonna bring it over to Annie to read it or let me know.
So people are just looking for any hints on how to prepare map regions and files for upload. Just any tips or tricks you might have there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're getting quite ahead of me because we do have, and I guess it's as good a time as any. So the last part of this deck is just a number of resources that I prepped for you in terms of how to get started, how to start using Flourish if you're a beginner, or if maybe you're more advanced. We have our Flourish SDK for people who actually know how to code, so on and so forth. We also have external tools, so not Flourish driven, but other tools for precisely for things like that, right? So we have Map Shaper for GeoJSONs, Natural Earth for maps or for other sources. But in particular, in the world of maps, if you go to Flourish.studio, I'm going to do 2 tabs. So if we go to the template chooser once again, and we go to our projection map template, you'll notice that we have a blank option right here. And this option is for anybody to upload their own map regions. So normally, I'm going to create 2 sets of this. So normally a Flourish map that's pre-populated is going to look like this. You're going to have your data and you're going to have your region's geometry. So in this case, this can be either states. If you're visualizing a country, it can be countries. In this case, if you're visualizing the world or a world region, it can be anything, any geographic unit. If you go again to new visualization and we go to blank, you'll notice that this is a complete blank canvas. So here you're able to upload your own regions and they need to be a GeoJSON file. And we have a lot of resources that I can again flag in the presentation or send to Annie, so she shares them in the chat as well. But one particular resource here in Flourish that we do have should be in flourish.studio-resources. And if I go to datasets, not only do we have sample data sets for you to experiment and explore whenever creating charts, but we also have this very handy Flourish projection map that as well is a repository for different map templates, not templates, sorry, GeoJSON files. So if I click, for instance, on England or the United Kingdom, rather, I have local government area. So that is the unit that I am able to download, or local postcode, London postcode districts, world map in the UK, postal sector boundaries. So we can do an example here, and I'm going to do London postcode districts. And yeah, that looks like a good place to save it. And perhaps if I go here, I need to go and upload my data. Here, London postcode districts. And if all goes well, there we go. We have a geometry, which is the shape, in this case, the London postcode area. In this case, we have the district and the map code. So it's just the meta information that's encoded within that file. And this can look in many different ways, depending on the source of your file or how much treatment you gave it, if you have other columns, etc. But in this case, I just need to bind column A, which is my geometry, and the IDs to match. And I'm going to make it B. And in order for this to show anything, I need to give it a value here. So I'm just going to go for A and A. Now, if everything went well here and I go to auto, there we go. I got my London postcode districts. So you can see how this is super powerful and super useful if you have different GeoJSON files or different geographical files for that matter that you can convert to GeoJSON. You can visualize them here using Flourish. And yeah, you don't have to be constricted by the options that we offer. You're really able to do pretty much anything that you want. And I'm just quite aware of time. So I'm just going to go jump back into the presentation to go over these resources very quickly. So as I said, you're going to be left with this duplicable visualization for you to explore, to see the different features of Flourish Linebar Pi, our mapping solutions, and the interactive content, as well as just like the data set in case you wanted to explore that on your own time and create different visualizations as well. Then the more general resources, how to create a visualization, how to create a story, which is just multiple visualizations combined together, choosing the right chart, sources to get you started if you're ever dry on ideas for specific data to visualize, external tools, so sources for data as well, sources for maps, different chart types, how to create good color palettes, how to edit your GeoJSONs. We also have plenty of resources on our help center on how to do all of that. And yeah, I mean, nothing left to say from me. Now it's your turn to get started, to explore the tool. And I guess for the fourth time, I'll open it up for questions in case anybody else wants to ask anything. Okay, let's see. And just told me that there are some questions around embedding. I can't see any particular one, so I can just, I can just go over those very quickly with one of the examples right here. So once you're done with your visualization, like once that's ready, I'm just gonna title this, give it an A, creative charts. And as soon as you're done with your Flourish visualization, like this is not visible for pretty much anybody except yourself because this is living in your account. So in order to make it, I guess, searchable or share it with the world, you need to export it or publish it. And you need to hit this button, and then you publish to share and embed. So the first thing that it's going to ask you is whether you want to have it password protected, so only people with the password can see it, or whether you want to allow anybody to duplicate this project and this data. By default, Flourish charts are private, meaning that even though you can publish the chart, the data is still private to you. But if you are keen to have other people explore that data as well, you simply need to tick this and you publish. And you know your chart's ready once you know that this button is green. And one nifty thing is that if you ever make any changes to your visualization, so say if I suddenly remove this and make my chart green, this button changed to yellow, indicating that the version that's published, it's no longer the same as the version that I'm working on because I made changes. So to fix that, I simply hit republish. And then it goes back to green, knowing that if this is published anywhere on the web, this would be the version that's live for everybody. Now, in terms of embedding, we have 3 embedding options. We have the script version, which is the one that we recommend the most because it's dynamic and we can ensure that it resizes dynamically, that it fits to different screen sizes, and that it's optimized for mobile as well. However, if for whatever reason you need an iframe option, we have that as well. And you can set up the width and the height. And we also have the AMP version. You can also share this, what we call the public showcase link, which is this public.flourish.studio link that contains a public version of your visualization. You're able to share this on social media or by email, or send it to a colleague if you want to showcase a chart within the Flourish environment. And one other thing that you can do, and that I can quickly show you, if I go back here, is that you're able to embed Flourish charts in Canva. So I'm very quickly going to jump out of my full screen mode. And here you can see all the slides that we went over. So it's quite a long session. But if I add a new slide in here, and I go to my Canva panel here to the side, I can go to the apps and I can type Flourish. So Flourish is seamlessly integrated with Canva because we are part of Canva. And you can simply tap Flourish into the apps and then select the Flourish app or a Flourish plugin, I guess you could call it in a way. And this is gonna give you a list of all the visualizations that are currently existing on your account in this moment. And you're able to look at them by name. So for instance, here, I wanna embed my grid of charts. And if I give it a moment, it's gonna populate my slide on my deck. And again, this is fully responsive, so I can resize it as much as I want to make it fit my deck. It's still fully interactive. If I hover over it, I'm able to see it. And this is another really cool way to embed or share Flourish graphics, is via a Canva deck or a Canva website. We use it a lot for our social media. So we import our Flourish charts in here, and then we edit them and tailor them for socials, and then export those assets to publish them on our Twitter account, on our LinkedIn, and on our Instagram account. I hope that covers the embedding options, but I'm pretty sure if I'm not, yes, I think I can either include this here once I send the slide, so I can add more resources to make sure that I cover all bases. But we certainly have like help docs and other documentation explaining the different embedding options for anybody who's interested. And I mean, since I was talking about socials, it's quite a nice segue to simply go. I'm just going to go back into full screen. To encourage you to reach out to us on our social media if you ever have any questions, or if you want to share your projects with us, to ask us anything about the webinar specifically. We have flourish-webinar@canva.com as our address, and we also have hello@flourish.studio for any other questions that you may have. So do reach out. Next up, on November 14th, we are going to be delivering a session on color in data visualization, specifically 5 pitfalls to avoid. It's going to be with my lovely colleagues, Vanessa and Simona, and you can start registering for that already. And without anything else left to say, thank you so much for joining me today. I think we're pretty much on time. Okay, I'm going to check in case there's anything on the chat. Oh, thank you so much. You've all been lovely. Yeah. And again, this is going to be shared with all of you who've subscribed to this particular webinar. You'll get an email with the recording, the slides, the survey, all of those good things. But as we said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody.